If you're working right now and you want to make a game while keeping a job, this video is for you. My name's Kyle. I make videos like this on YouTube 2 times per week. Hit subscribe right down there. I may be a full-time game dev right now. Over my life, I've worked on all kinds of side projects while also working a full-time job. These are things that I've learned that have helped me work on those projects effectively and not get burnt out by it. I think these 7 things are going to help you a lot. They've helped me a lot. So let's get started. And number 1 on that, it may seem like common sense, but schedule time for your project in your calendar. This helps you make sure that you work on that. By just putting that in your calendar, you help yourself not forget. It's easy to forget, especially when your day job kind of grinds you down sometimes. Pick certain days, certain hours that you know you can work on your game and you know you can focus. And keep that on your calendar as a reminder to yourself to keep that time free so that you can work on your game, so that you can make progress on your game, and still meet all of your other obligations. It just helps me a lot to use the calendar that way to stay organized and to remind me to go and work on that, because I tend to get wrapped up in a lot of different things and I'll forget if I don't. So we talked about the calendar. Where in your calendar should you put it? That gets us to the second thing. Where do you put this in your calendar? Try to work on your game in the morning. Why do you do that? It's not just because I'm trying to set you onto this morning person mindset or something. I actually don't like getting up early myself. I found that if I wake up and I work on my game or I work on my project before I go to work, I can focus on my stuff a lot better. It hardly ever impacted anything in the rest of my day after I had acclimated to that schedule. Getting up early and working on that before you go to your job is super helpful because you can focus on your game, you have your full attention on it, your brain's fully rested, and you can really make it the best that you can while still staying in your day job. Getting us away from scheduling, number 3, find someone to hold you accountable. If you have someone that can keep you accountable, you're less likely to quit and less likely to just push that project aside, which is really easy to do when you have a day job as a fallback. You have a lot of cushion there. So having someone to keep you accountable on the game can really help your motivation and really help you keep going when things get hard, because they will get hard and you will want to quit at some point. Another way to get that accountability, if it's not an individual, is if you have an audience of people that are interested in your game already. You can use that as a way to, I want to show that off to the people in the audience, or remind yourself that's like, hey, these people want to play my game. I want to get my game out there, and that can motivate you a little bit and also hopefully turn into sales at one point. This is another one about your social well-being while you're working on your game and keeping your job. Number 4, find other people that are building things. So depending on your job, a lot of your coworkers may not be building anything outside of their spare time. They may go to work, do their job, and go home and do something else that they like to do. If you're the only person working on your project, you can feel kind of isolated. You feel like, I'm working on my game. I don't know any other people that are building things. I feel kind of alone. It can really help if you find other people that are building things. They don't even have to be building games. They could be building a new app. They could be building a physical product. But as long as you find some people that can be your little builder group, that can help you a lot with your motivation to continue working on your game and help you feel less alone. A couple ways you can do that if you're looking for people in game dev is look for local game dev meetups. Usually, at least in the United States, if you're around a major city, you can find some of those. If you're not, look online. There's plenty of Discord communities out there, plenty of other meetups that are totally virtual that you could go to, and try to find people that you could build alongside. Not necessarily working with, but working on your own work at the same time. Getting into number 5, and this one is really important and easy to forget, especially if you've never gone on your own before, is that you have a salary. You are getting paid. You have money coming in, and that can be really powerful. So how can you use that money coming in to make your game the best it can be? Adjust your budget to include some money going towards your game. Development takes money. There's no way around that. Either you pay for it in time by paying your rent, or you pay for it by buying things. Most likely you will have to buy things. And if you've already adjusted your budget such that you know some amount of money is going towards your game development, that can help you a lot to feel better about spending that money and know how much money you have to spend. To move your budget around, incorporate your game in there can be a little interesting sometimes. Occasionally, most often you have to cut back on other things, but it's a good thing to go through in my opinion. I think it's really useful, especially if you ever plan to try to do that as a full-time thing, because then you have to fully manage that budget. That's all you have. And you have to figure out how to bring more money in, and that gets harder. We talked about your budget. How about how you can spend that budget? Number 6, one way that I think is really useful for spending budget for your game is to hire out some of the development work. That can be getting a Steam capsule. That's a great one to hire for, by the way. It could be hiring someone to do development work. It's really up to you, and you need to identify what is it that you are going to take care of, and what are you really good at, and what can you outsource to someone else. Looking at it with that kind of mentality can help you figure out how do you get your game shipped as soon as possible. Again, that goes back to you have a salary, you have regular income coming in, and you can use that to your advantage. Number 7, and that is to just enjoy the process. If you have a day job still, you have some buffer, you don't have to rely on your game or your other efforts to bring in money, so enjoy the process. Find some things that you really like to do or that you really want to get better at, and go all in on those things, focus on those things. You have the time to do it. When you're full-time and you need to bring in your own revenue, you really can't do that most of the time. You have to do other things that are going to distract you to eventually turn into revenue so that you can more sustainably continue to make games and more sustainably continue to operate as a business. Again, I'm assuming you're doing this commercially. If it's a hobby, then it's a hobby. Still though, when you have that full-time job, don't forget to enjoy it. There are a lot of things I would like to dive way into more depth in, like 3D modeling or geometry nodes in Blender or working on cool shaders, but I don't always have the time to just go into that because I have to focus on the big picture everywhere, especially because I'm solo. This is also a great time for you to focus on building a really broad skill set. I can't really overemphasize how important it is to have a broad skill set, especially if you want to go full-time on this, because you're going to have to learn almost every piece of the puzzle so that you can fit them together in some way. Even if you don't do that work, you should still know something about it, because then you can bring more value to the game and wrap it together much more easily than if you don't know all of the individual domains to some degree. Hopefully these 7 things have been useful for you. If you like this stuff, let me know down in the comments, give me a like, hit that subscribe button. I will see you next time.